All right, so it's Johnjon, right?
Johnjon, yes sir, yes sir.
Johnjon, awesome. It's great to meet you. Thanks for coming out. Excited to get you on here, get the audience some value.
I appreciate you having me on, man.
Absolutely. It was interesting. We didn't know if this was going to happen, right? Because you had a conflict schedule or a conflict in your schedule. We had to move stuff around on my end too. So I'm glad you're able to be here. It's when we schedule podcasts like this, right? It takes a lot on my end to set this all up. We have a free space to use, and it takes 2 hours to edit the video, right? So I get a lot of people that come and cancel. They're like, oh, hey, yeah, I want this slot. And then it's like, oh, no, we can't do it. So then I'm stuck there sitting like, shit, I just booked this whole day, didn't schedule any showings, didn't go on any listing appointments. My whole day is kind of shuffled around this event, right? So that's kind of why I responded the way I responded. It wasn't out of hey, I don't like this guy, or hey, this is frustrating. That's where I come from. So I just want to let you know that.
Yeah, no, I got it, man. I got it. And, sometimes things do happen, and this was something that, came out of nowhere, and it was very time sensitive. So I appreciate you, helping me out and moving this around so we can make it happen, man. I do.
100%.
Yeah.
So you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and how you got started?
Yeah, absolutely, man. My name is Johnjon Gonzalez, born and raised here in South Florida, Miami. Never left, never leaving, right? Where would I go? I got into real estate right after high school in 2017. Wasn't that successful, didn't have too much luck in it until about 2022 when I blew up. But before that, I was going to college. I went to FIU and got a business marketing degree, and it just sits on my wall, man. The most expensive piece of paper ever. Even though I got financial aid, so it wasn't that expensive for me.
Sure.
But yeah, so 2022 was really my breakout year. Now I am with Lux Properties here in the Gables. I do run a real estate team called The Company Exclusive. I do have a community of realtors that we also help on school. I have a real estate course coming out probably within the next week, which is why I had to move things around for this show. And yeah, man, that's pretty much my story.
That's awesome. So a lot to unpack there. You got a lot of stuff going on, which is great. So you have a brokerage.
I am at a brokerage. I have my license hung at Lux Properties. We have 8 offices, an amazing broker. Wesley, shout out to you. We have some big things coming, me and my broker. Don't want to announce it just yet. I don't like to put it out there unless the ink is dry, but some sweet things that I'm excited to announce soon, for sure.
That's awesome. So you have your team with them. How many agents do you have on your team?
Right now we have 4 agents. Me and my partner, Aaron Abity, are the team leads on that, and we have a admin. So we're a team of 7, including our admin at this moment.
That's awesome. And how old are you?
I am 26.
26. I just turned 27. So it's cool to see you at a young age have a team like that, right? So I had a team back in Wisconsin prior to moving down here. I moved down here 3 years ago. It was interesting being young in the industry and starting out and having a team like that, because I feel like one thing that I wasn't a very good leader at that point. I was 23, 24, somewhere around there, right? So I really had to develop my leadership skills, and you have to go through and do that kind of on the fly, right? Because how long have you had your team?
Man, it's actually brand new. We onboarded one agent, which is a good friend of mine. He was in my coaching program since 2022, but he wasn't full-time. He quit his job at the bank, and we kind of beta tested the team with him. And within 45 days, he listed and closed his first sale.
There you go.
So we knew that it worked, and I think we onboarded a group of 3 altogether, and that was probably, I want to say, no more than 2 weeks ago. I think we've had 2 team meetings. We have one every week. So it's been great, man. It's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how do you foresee this team growing out? What are your goals with it? What struggles do you think you're going to have?
Yeah, right now I was on the phone, right, with my partner, Aaron Abity, and we were trying to navigate being leaders because, some things are black and white, but there always has to be a little bit of wiggle room in business to accommodate emotions and, situation. Like in real estate, every single situation is different. You're never going to have the same deal. And we had an issue with an agreement, right? And, we try to accommodate, we try to make things right so that nobody feels like, that either they're being taken advantage of and everyone is made whole, and that we keep the team morale positive. But I was just talking to him, like it's going back to the leadership part, like we're learning, we're learning how to be leaders because we've never done this before, right? So you learn on the go. You don't know what you don't know. So we're learning every day. We love it. I'm learning how my partner is when it comes to leadership. He's learning how I am. And sometimes we have friction, but, we communicate, we discuss, we, compromise, and then it's only going to get easier because I'm going to see, how I'm already going to know what he's going to tell you when you go and ask that question eventually, right? But now we're still navigating, that in this leadership role that we've decided to take on. Yeah. So it's difficult, man. It's difficult. It's not easy.
Yeah. So have you ever heard of John Maxwell?
No.
So he is an author. He writes about leadership. He only writes about leadership, right? So hindsight, now I've been through the military. You learn a lot about leadership in the military. Got out of training like 2 months ago. So that was super cool. But I didn't have that experience when I had my team. And then it came about that like once my team kind of dissolved, I found this guy named John Maxwell, and I started reading his books. And great books. I don't know, do you study anyone for leadership?
I'm going to be honest, man. I don't even read, bro.
For real?
I don't read. I should. Every year I say I'm going to read, and I just don't. I read the Bible.
There you go.
But I should read more. I'm not encouraging not to read and not to learn. Just a lot of my learning is done visually on videos, on YouTube, conferences, networking, phone calls, mentors, but I definitely should read more books for sure.
Interesting. Well, check out John Maxwell. Maybe it's helpful, maybe not. He helped me a ton. So that's kind of where I was going with that. But so you mentioned religion. Are you religious?
I am religious. I actually got on my WWJD bracelet. I've had it on since December when I joined my new church, VU. I don't know if you have heard of it.
I've heard of it. It's a pretty big church, right?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest churches out here in Miami. I think, if not the biggest. 4 locations, a bunch of services for each location, growing more and more every day. Shout out Rich and Don Cherie. You guys are amazing. What you're doing for the community of Miami there's just no words to describe the impact they're making here in such a sinful city, I would say.
In Miami, the sinful city.
Yeah.
It's got a nickname for a reason.
Yeah.
So the VU, what denomination is that?
Christian.
It's Christian.
Yeah.
Okay. And where are they located?
They have 4 locations. They have one in South Miami. They have one in Little Haiti. They have one in the Design District, and they have one in Miami Gardens.
You just joined this church, you said.
I started going to this one in December.
Were you religious before, or is this kind of your first?
No, yes, I grew up in church.
Okay.
My mom always made me go. I've always used that as a moral compass, but when you're a child, I was going because they made me go, right?
100%.
And you're just sitting through the service. Sometimes you're into it a little bit more than others, but for the most part, at least in my experience, I really didn't digest the information and take it in and learn from it, right? But I always had that moral compass of, what's right and what's wrong, and I've always kept that with me throughout my whole life. But once I was old enough to make a decision on whether I wanted to go to church or not, and my mom wasn't making me go, I was a kid, I stopped going. But I feel like now when you get older, you start realizing what's important in life, right? Like family, they always stress family's all you got. And when you're a kid, you're like, I got all my friends. And then now you get older and you're like, what friends, right? Like, yeah, you still have them, but family's all you got, right? And then now I'm like, okay, now I see why my mom wanted me to go to church and why this is so important. So I feel like our parents were always right, you know what I mean?
Sure.
As much as we don't want to listen to them growing up, you get older and you're like, wow, like I get it now,
100%.
Yeah.
It comes full circle.
Yeah.
So religion for me is an interesting thing, right? Because I feel like I go when it's convenient. And then once it becomes an inconvenience to go, I kind of stop going. So I feel like I'm in that camp of super lackadaisical with it. Wish I was more into it. It got me through the military though. So every Sunday, it was what we looked forward to. And if we didn't go to church, you basically had to stay back and clean the barracks or something. So everybody went to church to avoid cleaning. So it's like, okay. But then when they strip everything away from you, like your phone, you can't talk to anybody, like you can barely smile and laugh, you'll get yelled at for that. It becomes such a awesome thing to go and sing and worship and just be involved in that church lifestyle, I guess. So coming out, I was like, okay, I feel like I want to progress on this moving forward and really make it a part of my life. So interesting that you bring that up. I have some work to do on that side that I want to get into, but I know so many people, it's just so beneficial for them, changes their lives in various ways. So it's cool to hear you're religious. That's awesome.
Yeah, and honestly, anyone who's thinking about going, like, it can't hurt.
Sure.
Nothing bad's going to come out of it. So give it a shot. And, if that church doesn't work, try a couple other churches. There's a reason why religion goes as back as it does, because it is real, and it's helped every single aspect of my life. At the very least, just giving me a moral compass to be a good person.
Yeah. So you don't think school's worth it?
I wouldn't say that. I would say that if you're not going to school to go directly into a profession like doctor, lawyer, engineer, then yeah, school's pointless. School is for a good time to live out your last years as a kid with no responsibilities. Some people go to school and college and they do have responsibilities, like myself, but I've seen plenty of my friends that had their tuition paid for, rent paid for. Dad, I want to go to the club, and got bottle service money and literally anything and everything. They were just allowed to be a kid. So like, those are going to be the best years of your life. I highly recommend going to college and getting involved and making new friends. But for me, those were the best connections that I made, because I grew up in Hialeah, right? So, not the best connections were made in Hialeah, right? But going to college, when people come from all over the county to go to one school and you're in that melting pot, you meet a lot of interesting people, and people come from all different types of backgrounds and financial status. And the connections that I made there still to this day are some of the best connections that I have. I was just with they're my best friends. I was just with my buddy Franco yesterday that I met in college and in a fraternity.
You were in a frat?
I was in a fraternity, not a frat. Fraternity.
Okay, so
yeah.
Okay, break that down for me. Why do people not like for it to be called a frat?
I really don't care, to be honest. I was just busting your balls, but it has given me so much that now looking back in, I like to put a little bit of respect on it, because it really is a brotherhood, and I've made some of the best friends that they're going to be my friends forever in that. And, the reason I like to do it is because it really changed my life, at least for me. Like, everyone in the fraternity, or mostly everyone, came from either like Belen or Columbus, that private school life, right?
Dude, I hear crazy things about Belen and Columbus. As far as the community, that in and of itself is like a fraternity.
Yes.
And that's in high school.
Exactly.
So you basically go from one fraternity to another fraternity, and you're with those guys for such a long period of time. The relationships formed is insane. There's a group of them that goes to Coconut Grove Run Club. And I talked to each of them like individually, or like they're like, "Oh yeah, I went to Columbus. If you have Columbus on a resume down here, I feel like you're automatically in.
Yeah, man. So, and growing up and going to public school, like I never knew what that was about, right? Oh, an all boys school. Like, why would you want to do that? Like, I went to school for the girls, right? I couldn't imagine going to an all-boys school, but joining that fraternity made me realize what it's about, right? I just said college is for the connections. That's what those schools are for, right? Who are you rubbing shoulders with? Like me growing up in Hialeah, I wasn't rubbing shoulders with the most productive members of society, right? People without ambitions. But when you're in that group of, parents and families that are putting their kids in these private schools so they can be around better individuals and have, higher opportunities for learning and success, you realize what that's for, and it made me change my perspective. Like, I'll probably send my kid to private school.
1,000%.
And yeah, man, that's what it's about again for me. You know, the connections. College is about connections, school is about connections, and you want to give yourself the best opportunity in this life, and that's, you know, going to be with rubbing shoulders with the right people.
Sure.
You know?
This is bringing up an interesting situation because I'm at like a little bit of a crossroads in my life, I would say. So just went through the military, right? They pay for a lot of college stuff, right? So now I'm enrolled in some courses, taking a couple courses here and there. I never finished school, for example. Got right into the real estate game, but I was up in Wisconsin. Everybody knows the Wisconsin Badgers, lived in Madison. All my friends went to school. So when I'm there and they're all going to school, but I'm talking about real estate, like, hey, I just bought this duplex. They're like in a whole nother world. You know what I mean? They're like, dude, I can't even fathom this. Like, I'm just trying to pass my school, like my classes and all this. But we would always hang around, like I would always hang around them and just, I was kind of involved in that college life without actually being in college. None of them were in fraternities, but I really do see and understand the benefit of fraternities. Like that brotherhood that you're talking about, that camaraderie, just being together, being able to like have a bunch of guys next to you that you can go build with. Like how cool is that? You know what I mean? Like I have a brother who's 16 and just turned 16, just got a car license, all that good stuff. But I'm excited for him to grow up so that I can build with him. You know what I mean? Because I didn't have a fraternity. I don't have a bunch of boys like, hey, let's go crush this. Let's like stay up till 3 a.m. working. Like I do that by myself and I do that with a couple friends, but not like, you know what I mean? So it's cool that you had that experience and I admire that in a way. I'm super thankful for where I'm at. But if I were to go back, I probably would have finished school the first shot and like been in a fraternity and like built those relationships.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, your network is your net worth, right? So a lot of people are like, why would I pay for friends? Well,
that's why I bought this house.
You know, that's why you do masterminds. And like, I paid $10,000 for a mastermind when I first started making money. And the guy I paid that money to is my best friend. Like
100%.
We moved in together. That's my brother. Like we do business together. We own houses together now. And if I wouldn't have taken that opportunity, could I have met him and connected with him and still maybe made the relationship that we have? Sure. But how much longer would it have taken, right?
Yeah,
like,
if you break it down over, if it would have taken an additional 5 months, you pay $2,000 a month to shave off 5 months and you got that connection right there.
Right. And there's just certain rooms that you're not going to get in without paying to play. You got to pay to play.
1,000%.
Like if someone is really doing big things and having motion, they're not just hanging out with anybody. They're not just giving anyone their energy, their time, because time is money.
1,000%.
And they're going to charge you for a consultation or whatever it is. But you got to pay to play in this life, man. And that was one of the best decisions I ever made, you know? And the same with the fraternity. I see it all the same way, you know? And connections are going to take you everywhere. Your network is your net worth.
100%. So does this guy still run events and stuff where he charges people? Your mentor or your friend?
Sometimes sometimes he does have stuff like that, but funny story, me and him actually just did an event together. So like it's come full circle. We just did an event. It was July 13th in Mad Club. It was a real estate event. We had people come out from Ohio, Orlando, and all different types of places to come and speak and drop game. And we had people that came from all across the country to come to this free event. And it was a big hit.
It was a free event?
Free event. We took,
Networking.
we took a lot of expenses to make it happen. Obviously, we had sponsors and, a bunch of people that paid to have tables or speak or, whatever the case might be. But, man, in that event, man, they're so powerful. Like I locked in a 6-figure a year deal, from just that event. Like just that event, 6-figure with a partnership that we made and we solidified for the team. So, do the math, man. Over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you're going to be in this business. What kind of deal did I just lock in?
100%.
2 million, 3 million,
100%.
And that's just minimum.
So one thing I like that you touched on was, like, some people say, why would I pay for friends, right? The reason I bought this house is partially for me because it's a nice area, but the neighbors, bro. Like, come on. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, I understand where you're going with that, but, like, you do have to pay to play. You do have to pay to be around those high performers in life. It's not just going to happen. So I like that you said that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you might run into him at a bar and he might, like you and have a conversation with you, but like, what are the chances? Like, why don't you just skip that whole process, pay him, and they're just going to take you way more serious, And that's the way I see it. Like, even in real estate, I found someone who was very successful in the business and he had a very similar backstory. So I gravitated towards him, but I didn't want him to give me anything for free. I paid him $100 an hour for his time because I'm like, and he said, no, I don't want to take you. No, I want you to take my money because I want you to,
out of you.
I want you to take me serious, and I want you to tell me the stuff that 100%. You wouldn't tell everybody else. And
100%.
like, you know what I mean? And I want you to know that I value your time because time is money and I respect your time. And, and I made him take my money because that's the only way you're going to get further in life.
Full value. Yeah. So I paid $10,000 to meet Grant Cardone at one point. This was when I lived up in Wisconsin, and paid him $10,000. I went back and I raised capital for the first time ever. I was like, dude, how is this guy doing this? Like, this is so crazy. Went back, raised $70,000, and bought my first deal with other people's money, OPM. And if it wasn't for me paying that, it probably would have taken me an additional 5, 10, 15 years to come about that and muster up the confidence and figure out how to run a promissory note and a 10% return and all these things that just like it just expedited the process so much. So, and everybody knows time is the only thing you never get back, right? So it is kind of a race. Like, everybody's like, oh, take your time. It's going to take time. It's going to take time. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, it's going to take time, but still do everything that you can possibly do to expedite it, because the sooner you're wealthy, the better the life you're going to have.
No, I agree. And it's funny you bring that up because I was just telling my partner, and everyone else when they ask me, 9 out of 10 businesses fail, right? Every 9 out of 10 businesses fail. So I'm like, okay, why don't we just fail faster so we can get to that successful one? Let's fail 9 times already. Like, let's go. Let's get to number 10.
1,000%.
And that's the only way. Success loves speed,
You learn so much from a failure too. It's honestly insane.
And that was just a learning lesson.
Yeah, you have to you have to fail. A lot of people don't in big ways, but there are little failures behind the curtains that people don't see that you learn from, and it just changes your trajectory, your success in a massive way. So I'm with you. Fail fast.
Yeah, and a lot of times, your failures are preventing you from a bigger failure, right, down the road. If you didn't lose this $10,000, you might have done something stupid, and it would have been $100,000 had you not lost that $10,000. So a lot of times your failures are protecting you and making sure you learn with a small price versus a big price later on down the road.
You said that you've done a couple podcasts in the past, right? But you said with a twist. So could you tell us a little bit about your podcast story and experiences?
Yeah, so I did have a podcast back in the day, and it was going great. Had I think about 5 episodes filmed. Had some great guests. Shout out to all you guys. I'm sorry the videos didn't come out. My videographer at the time, he quadrupled the prices on me and wouldn't release the videos, or said he lost them, or whatever the case might be. So I actually never got access to those, unfortunately. And then it kind of just, I never got back into the routine of making more videos and shooting them and all that stuff. So I kind of just put that on hold to focus on other things.
So
at that time.
So he would film them for you, and then he would in production say, "Oh, it's going to cost X amount."
So the first video he released, I think I have one video, at the agreed upon price, right? And then, after that, prices went up. He just felt the need that he was just worth so much more at the time, which I'm not telling anybody, what they're worth. I'd never, put a price on, someone else's business and service, right? But when you put a price on it and then you change it, then that's not okay.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
So he held your videos ransom and you couldn't release them?
Pretty much, yeah, for the most part.
That's crazy, man. This whole podcast experience, I mean, you're episode 12, and we've been doing about 5 a week. There's some intensive work that goes into this situation, like the editing, and then just to have the space for this setup right here. I know that there's a couple podcast studios in town, for example, there's one called The Move,
My guy Drew.
So do you know Drew?
Yeah, I know Drew. Yeah, we go to the same gym, Elevation.
That's awesome.
He's a mortgage. He's an MLO.
Yeah. So his girlfriend or wife, I think, is coming on in like 2 weeks or a week from now or something. But I would love to do some work with him. But honestly, do you know anything about that space?
The only thing I know, I knew the name of the building. I just forgot. But it's a great space. It's in I forgot what building, man. But I think it's like a 1-bedroom apartment or something.
That they just kind of turned into a studio.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct. And I think he's got a couple going on, man. He's doing great, man. He's got great guests. It really blew up for him. You know, he's a man of faith. So, you know.
So that's interesting because to have, like I said, to have the space. A lot of people nowadays can barely afford their studio or 1-bed or 2-bed, right? So now everybody's work from home because of post-COVID. That's just kind of what's happening. So I feel like a lot of people need one whole extra room in their property or house to even have ample space. So to be able to pull up and just have this stuff set up nowadays is like crazy. And I feel like there's such a high demand for it because all the media and the content that's being pushed out. Like how much you shoot a ton of content, right? Like you shot your course, like it's insane.
Yeah, and content is not cheap, man. Content is not cheap. I actually think that space is actually just for the podcast. So I don't believe that he lives in that space. So
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He made a whole business out of people needing the space because nobody has the freaking space.
Correct. It's expensive, man.
Such a good move.
It's expensive, man. It's expensive. So people rather just pay when they need the service versus taking on that huge risk and that, you know, year lease and, you know, equipment and scenery and, you know, everything that goes into it, you know?
Dude, so we're shooting on an iPhone 15 Pro right now. I have a Sony A7S III camera. When it came out, I bought it when it came out like 3 years ago. I think it was like probably $4,000 or something. I like my iPhone camera better than that camera just out of ease. Like I just plug this in and we're USB-C directly into my phone. But with the camera, you got to do all this stuff. The lights flicker sometimes and it matches the shutter speed, all this nonsense. So it's like, it's wild, man. I think the media game as a whole is changing quite a bit and it's going to be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, man, 100%. And then I don't think you have to color grade with this phone.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah. So all my videographers out there know what that is. But yeah, it's basically color grading is just like making sure that you see how it looks right there? All the colors are very defined. Mm-hmm. When you shoot on a camera like that, the colors won't be so defined or the sun's coming in from the window. So you just got to like basically
adjust.
Make it look real, like make it actual. You know, I don't really know how to describe it, but you know, yeah.
I really think phones are going to replace those cameras because the ease of this is like, it's too convenient to ever go back to a camera for me. Like I'm a simple guy. Like this is a super simple set. You got a couple plants. Thank you, my girlfriend. This isn't me, but like, you know what I mean? There's no crazy stuff going on. And just, I don't know. It's just interesting to me, but let's segue out of this. I feel like we've been in that for a minute. Okay, you want to tell us a little bit more about your real estate course and like where that's available and.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually going to make the announcement video on my way here because I had just finished filming and we were like, you know, maybe a week from completion where, you know, I feel great about marketing the finished product. Man, this is a course for anyone that if you're not making $250,000 in real estate, like you need to take this course. Me and my partner have spent countless hours, blood, sweat, and tears putting this course to life, bringing it to life. And we even shot all of it. And funny, another videographer story. My videographer went
got bad luck with these guys.
He went to jail and we lost access to all the videos. And I was like, oh, you know, he went to jail. All right, perfect. Like, let's bail him out. You know, no biggie. No bond. He has no bond. We couldn't even get him out. He's still in there. You know, it's been like a month and we're like, you know what? At this point, like, we're just going to reshoot.
That's crazy.
So we had to reshoot everything and we had deadlines because we shopped it and beta tested it kind of just like I did the team with a few people. And it's like, hey, let me know what you think. Give us some feedback. That way when we bring it out to the masses, we at least know from the outside looking in what we could have done better. Maybe we add something. Maybe, you know, we tweak this or tweak that and just get feedback from people before bringing it out to the public, right?
Sure.
But yeah, now we're bringing it out. I believe we are going to pre-sale it at 24.97 if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but once it's out and the finished product is there and we are live, that it's gonna go to 24.97 if I'm not mistaken. So $2,500, you are going to skip years and years and years of learning lessons that me and my partner Aaron have been through. Right, we're gonna take you straight to where you need to be, to what you need to focus on, what to say, how to say it, when to say it, where to get leads, how to close deals, art of negotiation, social media, like literally everything and everything, cold calling, like anything you can think of. We're taking you A to Z through this. And in Miami, what's $2,500? That is maybe one
Three
rental.
dinners.
Yeah,
one rental, three dinners, whatever.
Yeah. So if you can't afford $2,500 to skip the line, like I just told you, I paid 10 grand for a mastermind. I didn't know what I was going to get out of it. I wanted to meet a bunch of random strangers in Arizona. So if you're telling me that you're struggling in your business and you can't afford $24.97 to skip the line and tell you what to do and how to make over $10,000 a year, like that's nothing. If you're not making 10 grand a year in real estate here in this market, I mean 10 grand a month. You're not doing anything, right? A $300,000 house is, excuse my French, in the hood, right? It's in the worst parts.
I don't even know if you could get it for 300.
You can't. Those are like 400 now. Yeah. So like the commission checks that we make are 5-figure checks. Like if you're making less than 5 figures on a house, I don't know what house you're selling, right? A little apartment, right? So if you're telling me that you can't afford $24.97, my argument would be, how could you not afford 20? Like you can't afford to not buy it, right? You can't afford to not buy it because you're not making 10 grand a month. So if I'm going to teach you how to make 10 grand a month and I'm going to bring you from, the point you're at to there and skip what? You're going to skip a year. You're going to skip time is money, right? So if I could get you that point faster, it's a no-brainer,
100%. Here's where I kind of want to go with this. Let's try to sell them on this course in this podcast here. Everybody's going to come back and say, all right, John, everybody has a course. Everybody's making a course. Everybody's selling it. There's only so many real estate people that have a different perspective. How is your course different than everybody else's?
My course is different from everybody else's because, number one, it's coming from 2 top producers in 2 different markets. My partner, Aaron Abity, has sold millions and millions of dollars worth of real estate, as have I, and he did it in Orlando. Now he's doing it in the Stewart area, and I've done it 3 years in a row now, being top producers across multiple brokerages that I've been a part of here in Miami, which I would argue is one of the toughest markets to really take market share in with all the killers that we have here.
I'd say New York, LA, and Miami.
Exactly. So,
toughest 3 markets.
If you're doing it out here, you know what you're doing, right? So yeah, everybody has courses, but typically those people who are selling you a course aren't even active in their business. Like all the Instagram gurus and all of this and all of that, they're not even doing what they're selling. Like I am actively selling real estate right here, right now, as well as my partner. Me and him have 28 listings combined. So you tell me someone who has more than 10 listings. I want to know because I personally don't know anyone. I don't know anyone who has 10 listings. And if they do, they're probably rentals, because the only time I think I had 10 listings maybe back in 2022 or I'm pretty sure, but like 4 of them were rentals. So really I had like 6. Now we have 28 sales, 28 listings, Tell me someone else is doing that. So, if you're saying that you can't learn from someone actively doing it, then I don't know what to tell you. Even the coaches, real estate coaches, like who's your coach? Go look at his numbers. I guarantee you everyone is inflating their numbers and lying because I know the coaches out there and I'm not going to call them out here. But if you're paying for real estate coaching, do yourself a favor and look into your coach's numbers. They're either not doing what they say they are or they're not even active in the business anymore. Why would you want to learn from someone who's not actively doing what they're teaching you? Especially when the markets are shifting like crazy nowadays. Like what was working last year is not working now,
Yeah, I mean, there's so much changes going on in the real estate space. It's insane. And I think the first step to any good business, right, is doing what you're teaching. Like that's like a blanket statement, right? Like if you haven't done it, how are you going to sell it? So I think there's a lot of people out there that are selling stuff they haven't done because they understand how much money you can make off of courses. A course, you film it once, it lives forever. Yes, you add to it, but the asset is crazy. There's like zero overhead in a course. So that's why everybody's moving to it. So I understand that. But that's cool that you're kind of laying the blanket foundation. You're doing what you're doing what you're teaching. You're still involved in the business actively. So, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I encourage everyone out there that if they are paying for coaching or courses, just make sure that person is credible. Don't believe what they say online. Fact check them. 'Cause I know who's out there and they're lying to you guys.
Let's talk about credibility real quick. So I'm a big proponent of exposing people for their fake followers and whatnot, right? It's like, because like once you put in enough time on social media, you understand the game, how things hit, how much engagement it takes to get certain views, right? There's all these freaking groups that you can get put in where everybody's sharing and liking your posts to inflate the numbers or whatever. So like, don't think that just because somebody has a lot of social media followers that they're credible, because in their eyes, that's what they want you to think. They're buying followers and engagement to prove credibility, but it's all the freaking wall.
Because perception is reality.
1000%.
And that's actually one of the modules in my course.
There you go.
How to navigate social media. So, I agree. And I know all the coaches out there that are using the Grow With Us platform. So I'll give free marketing to Grow With Us. Their followers are not real. Grow With Us is a agency that gradually has like overseas accounts or maybe US based accounts follow you so that it looks like you didn't go from 0 to 100,000 overnight, but every single week you'll gain 1,000, 3,000, 5,000 followers, whatever package that you choose with them, right? And then they'll like, bro, it is so cringe. Like go on your favorite guru or whoever it is that you're suspect of being fake. Go to the comments. Okay. The comments are ridiculously like
robotic.
Oh my gosh. So that's the easiest way to tell. So they all those likes are fake because it's in the package. The comments are in the package. And
this is growwithus.com. Because I want people to like actually go and like look at this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because I think it's good for them.
Yeah, and there's so many other agencies doing it. That's just the most popular one.
Okay.
And they've tried to sell me so many times, and everyone else like
they always go after realtors.
They go and they all go in the DMs. Like if you're doing anything, business related, they're going to go into your DMs and they're going to offer your services because again, perception is reality. Now, I don't want to sit here and say that if you're buying your followers, you don't know what you're talking about because unfortunately in the world that we live in, if you have 1,000 followers and you're the best realtor in the world, no one's going to think you know what you're doing, right?
1,000%.
But now you
especially our generation.
Exactly.
Especially our generation.
So now to bridge that gap and get to, where you want to get to faster, you buy those 100,000 followers and now all of a sudden you're credible, right? So now people are listening to you. So, I don't want to say that they don't know what they're talking about, but, it's fake.
So back in the day when all of that stuff, remember when you could buy a blue check on like Instagram and Facebook? Or, okay, let me back up. Remember when you couldn't pay $15 a month for a blue check?
Correct.
You could pay $50,000.
I remember. And then you'd end up losing it. You got to say you're a musician. And then,
right? So there was one of my buddies that sold all of that. And he also sold fake followers. The amount of like highly credible accounts, even to this day, I'm not going to put them on blast because maybe, but like, so there's very credible accounts, people that are very wealthy that were purchasing followers that I was like, wow, why do they need to purchase followers? Like, why do they need that fake engagement? But it propelled their success. Like, and to this day, they're still buying fake accounts and followers. So everybody's a victim of wanting to be seen and known, so they're willing to pay for it. Right. So I don't know. It just brings up this interesting dynamic.
Yeah. And a lot of it is, again, like it's having that instant credibility that when someone goes to your page and they don't know better, they think that you're this credible person and that, you're worth your salt. So if you're selling stuff online, the only way to sell, at the highest price and as much as you want is having that credibility. And unfortunately, that comes with likes, comments, followers, because I'm telling you, you can have the best deal in the world, the best information. And if you have no followers and you're trying to sell on an account that has 1,000 followers, no one's going to take you serious. And unfortunately, it's just the world we live in. Oh, man. Oh, man. This one was crazy. So I was purchasing a property with my partner. It was a single family home in Hialeah. It was an investment property, and it was a Hialeah special. Anyone's from Miami, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Break it down, because I don't even know. Hialeah special.
No?
Tell me.
So Hialeah is infamous for having efficiencies and studios and all this, which is why the city of Hialeah, when you sell a property in the city of Hialeah and a few others as well, like Miami Gardens, Cutler Bay, you are required to obtain a certificate of occupancy. So it is before the sale takes place and before you're allowed to close on the property, the city of Hialeah has to go in there and make sure that everything is legal, permit-wise, no structures have been changed, because it's a hazard, right? And in a single-family home, it's exactly that, a single-family home. It's not a duplex. You're not supposed to have, you know what I mean?
I've seen people where the front looks like a single family, but that thing goes 5,000 feet back, uses the whole lot, and now you got like 3 houses on there.
Exactly. And this one, the one I was getting had the main property and 5 other units.
Crazy.
On one. So I'm not afraid of something like that, because that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, to be quite honest. Because if you wanted to buy a 5 unit, I was getting, it was 6 in total. I was getting a 6 unit for $600,000. Like
$100K a door. That's crazy.
It was bringing in $11,000 a month, right? But and where are you gonna get that? One property is bringing you that's $120,000 a year. Obviously you got to cover your expenses, but if I were to put that 600, I would be getting a duplex?
Barely.
Right? So the cash on cash return just doesn't make sense. So, that's another way that, these investors can make a better return on their money, but you are taking on a liability. If someone reports you to the city, then the city's going to come in there and tell you to tear everything down, or they're going to fine you per day that you don't after the grace period that they give you to remove it or legalize it, right? So I'm in this business. I wasn't afraid of it, but towards the end, there was just too many red flags, and like the listing agent pissed me off. So, and I had a partner in the deal. I wanted to back out way, way before. But I'm a nice guy. My partner really wanted it. Unfortunately, I'm a people pleaser. So, I always try to be the nice guy, and, sometimes that comes to sacrificing what I want. And, but this time around, there was too many red flags. We had the closing for 5:15, I think. And me and my partner were on the way to the office, and at 5 o'clock, I make a U-turn. I call my partner. I'm like, yo, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I don't care what the lender thinks. I don't care what title says, listing agent says. I'm not going to make an emotional business decision. Business is not emotional. Business is numbers. Business is risk mitigation. Business is, everything in between, anything but emotion, right? So I had to put my foot down, and everyone was not happy. And we actually just got all the money back today, including the EMD, because attorneys got involved, and, threats to go to court and sue and all this craziness, which, I left clauses in the contract to protect myself and give myself wiggle room. So, thankfully I did get I think they're going to release the last $10,000 that they owe us today. So nice. Thankfully.
So what exactly made you pull out then? If you because how long were you under contract? 30, 45 days or something?
75 days.
75 days.
Everyone worked on the file for 75 days for me to walk away at the closing table.
That's crazy. But what specifically caused you to have that feeling? Because like some people are in the same boat, right? Like some people are they're like in the car going to title, like, shit, like I don't want to close on this property, but I feel like I have to, but my gut reaction and my gut feeling is like, no. So what was that thing for you?
I've made bad investments before, and typically they were trying to rush into things or emotional decisions. And, it just comes to a point where when you have a gut feeling, man, you have a gut feeling, don't ignore that gut, because I can live with, you know, messing up and not going in on a deal that turned out to be good. But I'm at the age in my life where like I know what's a good deal and I'm not giving away my money. Like this needs to be a home run. Like I'm taking the guessing work out of it. Like black and white, what are the numbers? What's the risk? Everything in between. And if it's not like clean cut and dry, I'm not doing it. I'm a clean cut and dry guy now, and I've blurred the lines and done everything in between. And I'm just like, you know what? The best investment is a safe investment. Whether it makes less, but you can go to sleep at night knowing that you're good.
So was it that all of those 5 units back there weren't legal? Or was it that
No, they were not legal. It was a single family home with 5 units.
Yeah, but is that what caused you to back out? Is like the risk from the city, or is it the cash flow, or
there was multiple reasons. I can give you like 20, but the main reasons was the 6 unit. It was a studio. It wasn't complete, and we had a handyman go out there. And he said he couldn't find the connection for the water, right?
Sure.
And when we asked the listing agent, why didn't you complete this studio? He said the owner ran out of money. Okay, so I'm like, okay. And we believed him. We sent our handyman. Handyman said that there was no connection for the water. But the owner was like, no, the listing agent was like, oh, the owner owns multiple properties, a bunch of properties, and this and that and the other. I'm like, okay, if he owns all these properties, how can he run out of money to complete a little studio, right? So that the math wasn't mathing, right? And then he had a big 37-foot boat in the back that was 97 inches wide, right? Now the side entrance of the house was 101 inches wide. So
4-inch spread.
2 on each side, right? So now he was forcing us to close on the property without the owner removing all of his belongings from the backyard and the boat, right? So now we were taking on a risk because he said the owner needed the money to pay someone to take all the stuff out.
But he owned all those properties.
Exactly. Lies. So I was like, the math is not mathing, right? And then the boat was tall enough to mess up the roof, right? And 3 tenants are on that side. So this was like a $6,000 note that you're about to take on, and you're counting on these tenants to pay that note, right? So now, God forbid, this guy messes up the roof after closing, where I already own the property. Now the tenants aren't paying me, or they move out. Now I got to pay for that. I have vacancy, this, that, and the other. Or he hits the other side and he hits my neighbor's fence, and now the neighbor's pissed, so he's going to snitch you out to the city or sue you. And he's like, no, I've had enough. Like, these people are, 6 units. And I was like, okay. So that was one. So it was just so many like red flags.
That's wild, dude. I've never heard. Wait. This guy had a boat back there.
Yeah.
And it couldn't be removed without essentially damaging something.
I mean,
this is Miami.
2 inches on each side. Like, you gotta be
squeezing.
You gotta be great. You gotta be great. I've seen people mess stuff up with huge spreads. So like that had me super worried. The math wasn't mathing.
Crazy. Why would he try to force you to close with the boat back? Like, what?
I don't know.
Is he gonna crane it out of there? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
That's insane.
That's what I'm saying. And then
it's such a unique difficulty in a transaction. Like, I've never had that experience. That's super interesting.
Yeah. No, so I was like, okay, no. And then there was so much friction throughout the whole transaction of like it taking so long because we had to change lenders a couple times, and then the financing had to get switched up. There was so much friction between me and the listing agent that I was like, you know what? God forbid I even do close on this, and we're going back and forth about the boat and the stuff and the tenants and the studio, and I was like, this guy might just snitch me out to the city right when I close.
Out the gate,
and I'm like, nah, I'm not doing this.
That's
so
crazy.
It was just too many red flags, man, and not a risk I wanted to take on because I wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
Sure.
I wouldn't be able to sleep.
Sure. What are some other crazy situations like that you've seen in deals? Do you have anything else?
Oh, man. I mean, the only one that every deal is different and they've all had their crazy to it, but the only one that is like, crazy that stands out to me was I almost closed, not me, but me representing the buyer, on a lot that the guy was impersonating the owner. So we went all the way to the closing table, and then the attorney found out right before my client wired the funds that guy was not who he said he was. So we looked up the owner's name, saw that he had a primary residence in the city, and we went to the guy's house. He's like, I'm not selling that lot. What are you talking about? So that was like the only way we were able to confirm that this guy was not who he said he was, because he doctored statements, ID, like everything.
That's
like,
crazy.
Everything you can think of.
So you're at the closing table and they find out that this isn't the guy.
Well, I was actually in the hospital, but the attorney right before closing, he's like, hold on, like something's fishy here, and the attorney showed up to the guy's house.
Damn.
And the guy's like, bro, what are you talking about? I'm not selling my lot.
Did the other guy go to prison?
I have no idea what happened. I'm sure these people that do this kind of stuff, like they're good at what they do. He probably wasn't even in the country. Who knows? Yeah. I don't know. But no, I didn't hear anything about it. If he did, I don't know.
That's a wild experience. Yeah. I remember one time, so I was selling a lot, and this was up in Wisconsin, and there's a fire code as far as how steep like a driveway can be so the fire trucks can get up, because when it's snowy and icy, things are different up there, right? So this lot was probably $800,000. The clients were going to build a new property on it, or so they thought. And I started calling around. I'm calling the neighbors like, hey, this lot's been on market forever. Why is it sitting? What's the issue? I know there's something wrong. This goes back to investigating. I'm a true believer of real estate is an investigation, right? I say that all the time on my story, but there's something wrong with every single property. Every single property. It could be the perfect property. There's something wrong with that perfect property. The seller probably knows it. Are they telling the buyer? Absolutely not. Is the listing agent aware? Maybe not. You know what I mean? But
Wesley, is that me or that's you?
That's me.
Yeah, Wesley. Shout out Wesley, man. That's crazy.
Brokerages don't matter to me, bro. Yeah. Like they really don't.
Brokerages don't, but in my opinion, brokers do. Or at least having one person, or it's more people. I wouldn't say broker, it's more people. But I've been with 8 different brokerages, and like Wesley is the best.
She's
like,
good.
I'm getting emails from her at 2 in the morning.
That's crazy.
Like 2 in the morning, I'm getting emails. This lady does not stop working, and like she's not a broker that Do you see your broker where you're at now?
I haven't been to the office, bro, in like 2 years.
Yeah, but so and all the brokerages that I've been with, like you don't hear from the broker, you don't see the broker, he's out of touch. Like Wesley still practices real estate. Wesley's got a bunch of listings. She's a killer. She's in the office all day long. Like, and then the one thing that I love about Wesley, man, that I can say is, doesn't matter who you are, she treats everyone the same. So like in this business, there's a lot of favoritism when it comes to a lot of things, who you give leads to, who gets this opportunity and that opportunity. And I know firsthand because I've been with 8 different brokerages. And Wesley, if she does something for one person, she's going to do it for everyone.
That's awesome.
She's the best.
That's awesome. And my girlfriend says the same thing. My girlfriend really likes her. But let's dive back into the brokerage thing. So you think brokerages don't matter, but the broker does?
So I think brokerages don't matter, right? In the sense of like, I don't want to say they don't matter, right? They do play an important role in your evolution as an agent, like, right? Like if you need training, you want to go to a brokerage that has a lot of training, right? But let's say you don't need any training, you're a killer, whatever the case might be. But at least in my experience, no one's going to give you business, right? So I went to Compass thinking like, okay, now I'm going to go to a luxury brokerage and I'm going to start just randomly getting luxury clients. Like it doesn't work like that. And then I joined one of the best teams in Florida, right? They're the #1 new construction team.
Which
at
team?
Compass. Ivan and Mike. So I joined the Ivan and Mike team. I think they're like number 3 or 4 for the top teams in Florida, right? So they're up there. They do about $800 million a year, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm joining this team. I'm about to like kill it. They're luxury agents and this and that and the other. No one is just giving you luxury leads.
Just because you're at a good brokerage.
Or you're on that team now, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not
Dude,
just giving out.
I was a team owner. You're a team owner. Dude, what team owners do is you set up Zillow. If you're getting Zillow leads, if it's over 800,000, you route it to yourself. If it's less than 800,000, you route it down.
right? And in these people's cases, like, you know, and when you're talking about $1 million lead, you're talking about $30,000. No one is just giving out $30,000 opportunities. So, like, I learned very quickly that the only one who's going to give you clients and build your business is yourself. Like, it doesn't matter
100%.
what brokerage you're at.
100%.
You know, they're not just handing out $1 million opportunities anywhere.
Yeah. I think when clients ask like, oh, what brokerage are you with? I'm like,
absolutely doesn't matter.
The brokerage does not matter. Like, it's all about the individual, the hustle, because when you go list a property on the MLS, every single brokerage can see it.
Correct.
So like, you think about like, oh yeah, I can market this property to all my agents at so-and-so, and I'm going to get better connections that way. Like, the chances are like 1% because everybody on the MLS can see every property that's for sale. So
correct.
If you're out there and you're not in the real estate space and you're a client, like, brokerage literally does not matter at all.
Yeah, brokerage does not matter at all. Now, what I will say is typically the big dogs in ultra luxury are at the top brokerages,
One Sir,
right?
Douglas Isleman.
Yeah, you're not going to see someone doing $500 million at a mom and pop shop, right? They're going to be with the big boys because they offer certain resources to those agents, right? But in reality, the agent as the individual is the one who matters, right?
100%.
That agent puts their license somewhere to make their life easier in terms of what they're willing to provide.
And those big dogs are probably at a super crazy split, like 95.5.
95.5, of course, because you're not going to do $500 million worth of real estate and give up,
10% of that. That's insane.
And if you won't give them that split, the next brokerage will.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And give you an office and give you a marketing budget and give you a lead budget.
100%. So I just talked to Douglas Isleman and Lux. It's between, right? Do I want to go to Douglas Isleman or Lux? Douglas Isleman is 80-20. Lux is 90-10. Both have offices here in Gables. Which one do I want to go with, right? Shaking all that down. Douglas Isleman doesn't have monthly fees. Lux has a $75 or $60 monthly fee. I can't remember which
$60.
one. Whatever it is, right? So it's like...
insignificant.
Yeah, it's insignificant. Which way do I want to go? 90-10 or 80-20? That's the only thing I look at is like the split. Because like you just mentioned, it's like... I've been in the business for 7 years. I've sold enough real estate. I know how to do all this stuff. Like, I don't need the training. So that brings up a good point. It's like, once you hit a certain point, the brokerage really doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's very important for your developmental process, like your development process as a new agent. But after that, you want to go where it's most convenient for you, where the office is closer, where you get the most support in terms of, different departments to help you with marketing or this or that or the other. What they're willing to provide for you and you can leverage, as an agent. That's about it, man.
All right. So you're doing events now? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I had my first official event, July 3rd. We rented out Mad Club in Wynwood. It's one of the biggest clubs out here in Miami. And it went great. We sold out, had an amazing event, amazing time. Had people fly in from all over. And now my next event is going to be early October, if I'm not mistaken. We don't have a venue locked in, but this one's going to be more of a mixer, right? This is going to be for people of real estate, people of different industries, anything really to do with real estate to come and network with other professionals, right? Now it's going to be wholesalers, investors, lenders, funders, title companies, anyone and everyone that has anything to do with real estate. And I highly encourage people to come out because, number one, again, you're meeting new people. You're getting exposed to how other people do business. You're learning new things from everyone else. And we need more realtors out there because I feel like realtors think that they don't need a network with other realtors. But I'll tell you one thing. Whoever says that is wrong because a good agent knows the market, but a great agent knows the listing agent. Right?
1,000%.
And that's going to go over people's heads. But I've gotten plenty deals because I know the person on the other side of that deal.
100%.
So you guys need to come out, man. Come support. We have sponsorship opportunities for anyone who wants to get their business in front of more wholesalers, realtors, investors, whatever business it is. If you want more eyes on it, this is the event to be.
Interesting. Can we dive a little bit into the back end scenes of what setting up an event like that looks like and what some of your struggles have been?
Oh, so much, man.
It's hard to get people. Like, I have parties here every month right there, right? It's like work to get people to come to a party. A lot of people think like, oh, hey, just text people, they're going to show up. No, it's text, remind, make them feel comfortable. Like entertaining is a whole business in and of itself.
Right. And I love how you just threw in that word entertaining, right? So the one that I threw at Mad Club, we had about 250 RSVPs, and that was the max RSVPs we were willing to have, and we pushed it because we knew like a free event in Miami or a free event anywhere, whenever it's free, people don't care, right? So we knew that we were going to get about 40 to 50% attendance, and I think we got about 60, right? Which is amazing for a free event. If anyone throws events, they know what I'm talking about. Now, combine that with you're in Miami on a Saturday, and this event is not for entertainment, it is for education. People don't want to be educated. They want to be entertained, right? It's a lot easier to get people to come somewhere where they're going to be entertained than they're going to be educated, especially on a Saturday in Miami, right? Like, why do we scroll through our phone? We don't scroll through our phone looking at educational videos. We scroll through our phone looking at entertainment, right? So that goes over a lot of people's head out, actually how hard it is to put together a successful event and gather people, you know, between getting venues, sponsorships, you know, working it out with the bar tab to make sure that there's a bar minimum. And if you don't meet the bar minimum, you have to cover the expenses yourself. So there's so much that goes on, from the marketing, the packages, the sponsors, the venue. Like literally there's so much that goes into it. And until it's like all getting put together, you realize last minute how not put together it is, and you're running around. But you know, my partners now that we're partnering with have done a great job putting on these events, and it's going to be the first one where I'm officially on board with them because they loved the one that I did in Mad Club. So you know, they gave me a call, wanted me to be a part of the team. I'm excited to be a part of what we're going to be doing, and we're going to be hosting monthly mixers, maybe doing a more educational one every now and then, maybe every quarter. At all different venues all around Miami, man. So it's gonna be
You
fun.
have a team in the back end working with you to set up these events.
Everything, yeah. We have an admin. We're like,
And do you pay them out, or do you like take?
no, we pay the admin. We have an admin that just works on the event. Like, her job is this event, right? Marketing, flyers, promotion, all the back end stuff, calling venues, seeing what's, you know, better. So that's her job, and she does a great job at it, you know.
Are you typically able to cover that expense with what do you call it? Vendors or
sponsors?
That's what I was looking for. Are you typically able to cover the full cost with the sponsors?
Correct. Yes. So, you know, we typically don't come out of pocket for an event. If you come out of pocket for an event, you're not doing it right. And again, you can recoup some of that between sponsors, different promotions that you can have, maybe things that you can sell. But in this case, we typically go for venues who just want us to meet a certain amount at the bar, so we don't have to incur such a cost. And the way you do that is doing the event on a day where that venue's slow, where now you're going to say, we're going to bring 150 people to you to spend money at your bar, when typically in this 3-4 hour window,
It's dead.
it's dead, right? So we're bringing you value, right?
Sure.
So that's the type of venues that we look for, obviously to minimize costs, right? And then all the sponsors pay for everything else in between, our time that goes into throwing these events. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's interesting. Events is such a good way to market yourself because of the like sheer amount of people that typically go, right? It's kind of like speaking or like Instagram videos. When you have somebody that like 3,000 views on a video, it doesn't seem like a lot of views, but if you imagine 3,000 people sitting there, like listening to you talk, like in an auditorium, that's eye-opening, right? So like anything in the masses, events, those types of things, such good marketing and such a good tool to like get your name out there, especially as a realtor.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. I've spoken at a couple events, and that's what got me involved in the event space because I wanted to throw my own. And, you know, I'm excited, man. I'm excited get my name more out there. This is my city, man. So, like to think that, you know, I'm not supposed to be here, man. Like, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, where I come from, you know, to think that now I am like renting out venues and throwing events for real estate in my own city, and people look up to me, and people, I'm mentoring people in the real estate space. Like, it's crazy, man. I didn't think I would be here. I'm not supposed to be here. So like, I don't take it for granted. Like, really looking in, like throwing some of the biggest events in Miami for real estate. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing.
That's super cool. Where did you think you would be?
That's a loaded question. That is a loaded question. Anyone knows me growing up, I made a complete 180 in my life, right? I was hanging around with the wrong people in the wrong places, doing the wrong things, right? I lost my way. I lost my way, and I'm so glad that I still had the support system around me, and I realized very quickly, and a big part of that is because of the fraternity, if I'm being quite honest, which is why I say that the fraternity changed my life, because it gave me a different perspective. When you live in a bubble, which my bubble was Hialeah, you don't know anything other than your bubble, right?
1000%.
So once I was exposed to the rest of the world and what's out there and the opportunity, and like, what am I doing with my life when, like, all these people are so successful and are doing better, not doing bad things, not, risking their, livelihood or their freedom. Like, so to answer your question, not here, I think you all know where I'm going with this, either dead or in jail. I didn't really expect to be where I'm at, man. I'm just so blessed and so grateful. And I know that God worked overtime to get me to where I'm at, and I owe him so much. And I believe it's because he knew in my heart that's that moral compass that I talked about. He knew in my heart that I was a good person, and I've always have been a good person. I've never hurt anybody. I've never did anybody wrong. I just wasn't doing the right things, and I was with the wrong crowds doing the wrong things and not hurting people, just not the right things.
Sure. So now let's say somebody's currently in that position, right? They can look up to you and be like, damn, John really turned shit around. He's successful in real estate right now. Go back to yourself when you were in that time. Like, what events or things happened that got you out of that time?
I think that you need to have, hopefully you don't, right? They say smart people learn from their mistakes and wise people learn from the mistakes of others. So hopefully, you can learn from my mistakes and others' mistakes. But like, for me, it was a very like big event where I was like, okay, like, this is not it, right? This is not it. I do not want to live looking over my shoulder. I do not, like, this is not the life I want for myself. Like, I want more. And until you have that like catastrophic eye-opening event, you're most likely not going to stop doing what you're doing. And it's a shame that something so traumatic has to take place for you to change your life, right? Like, if you're doing drugs, like, for you to have to OD, for you to be like,
almost
this is,
die.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, that's that catastrophic event I'm saying. And, if you're out there and you're in that position, like, go and find better people, go and find better friends, go and change your environment. Like, if, for me, it was going to FIU and the fraternity. That changed everything, like those kids in, private school. I was like, wow, like, this must be so nice. Just be a kid, worry free, nothing, parents paying for everything. Like, and then that's what I did. I was like, you know what, I'm going to be a kid. And so that's why I really wasn't doing real estate in college. But yeah, man, just that's not the way to go, man. That's not the way to go. Every gangster that's in jail will tell you that it's not it.
It's not it.
It's not it.
That's interesting. I always talk about, there's a gentleman who smoked weed that was laced in high school. And he became a vegetable. He was like 17 years old, but had the mind of like, I don't know, a 7-year-old or a 10-year-old or something of that sort. His dad came to speak at our school, and that totally moved me. I was like, wow, if this can happen to him, it can happen to anybody. I'm like way off the drugs. Like, I was crazy about that because I just didn't want to waste a life like that. You know what I mean? It's like, life is such a beautiful opportunity. You get to wake up every day. Like, let's not waste it here. So that was kind of an interesting, traumatizing event, like seeing him go from X to X that shaped and changed my life. So
I love that. You learned from a testimony, right? Like, that's amazing. You didn't have to learn, from your own mistakes, right? So, that's awesome that happened. And that's why I'm sharing my story. And that's why, that's amazing. That's what you should do. And I encourage people who have been in positions like myself to share your story, because you never know what life you will change. You never know what heart you'll touch.
1,000%. Yeah, I think that's important to say is like, I feel like with social media, you're able to impact a lot of people, but those people don't always tell you that you're impacting them. But like, they look at you and they're like, damn, this guy changed my life. But like, you'll never know, for example. But this story being released on this podcast, maybe somebody does come out of some stuff because of what you're saying.
Maybe, man. It may be. And again, for those people who knew me back then, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And I get it all the time, man. Like from people that I grew up with or haven't seen in a long time from school. They're like, man, like, I see you online. I see you doing great. I see you killing it, this, that, and the other. Like, and it's amazing, man. It's amazing. It's amazing every time, someone comes up to me and tells me that, people think it's not much, but like, it does
Gets
impact.
you through, dude.
It
Especially
does
when you have a
impact
down
us.
day.
Yeah, it does impact us, and it does make us feel better. And it, sometimes we're like, especially in our business, there's the highs are highs and the lows are lows. So like, just those words of encouragement, and it just reinforces that like you're doing the right thing and you're on the right track, and it's amazing. Words of encouragement. Love it.
I think one thing that's interesting is like our job is to kind of give words of encouragement through uncertain times. Maybe it's during a transaction. Somebody's like, hey, I can purchase this property, but I don't know if I can really afford it or really make it work. And then you push them through. You're like, no, like I promise this and that. And then they own the property for 3 years. And then the next thing you know, they've made $400,000 on it. And they look at you like, I'm so thankful that you pushed me. And like, I took this step and like followed your lead. Like, it goes back to basically where I'm going is the psychology of humans. Like, we all need to feel like appreciated, understood. Sometimes we need that little push. So like, we do that during the transaction, but also on the other end, when people are like, hey, you've impacted me, that goes a lot for us, or at least for me. It's like, thank you much. Like, you reminded me of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm going to continue to put out awesome content, or I'm going to continue to like push people in their real estate careers and say, hey, you need to get over this hump. You need to buy this property. It's going to be the best thing you've ever done. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. It reminds me of my client, the partner I was going in on that house with. I met him because he was a client of mine. He purchased a property that I was selling, and I actually wanted to buy that property. I was representing the seller. I put in a contract, did inspections, everything, and the partner that I was going in on that deal with at the time backed out, and I couldn't get the deal myself, unfortunately. So then this guy comes along, and I was telling him, like, man, I wanted this deal. Like, I'm telling you, it's a great deal. And then if you're a buyer and the agent is telling you that, you're probably like, this guy just wants to sell the house,
yeah,
right? But he went through with it. The property was cash flowing $8,800 a month. His mortgage was, I think, $4,500, $4,000, something like that. He held it. He bought it for $640 in 2022, and I sold it a few months ago for $890,000. And then he was like, wow. Like, when I got him that contract, he was like, wow, that must hurt you because it was supposed to be
Should have been your money.
And I was
Should've
like,
been your
bro, why did you
$250,000.
say that, bro? That's $250,000 plus cash flowing $4,000 a month for a year and a half. He only held it a year and a half.
And he's up $250,000.
$250,000 plus cash flowing $4,000 a month. Profit.
Bruh.
Profit.
The power of real estate. And these people out here are sitting on their couch like, oh, I don't know if I should buy. It's crazy, bro.
The best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago.
Exactly. And you can never time the and you can never time the market.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's biggest regret in real estate is that they didn't buy more sooner.
Yeah.
Every big real estate investor that you talk to, could be Grant Cardone with $5 billion in real estate, or it could be, I don't know, somebody with their first property. Oh, darn. Wish I would have bought more sooner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like, even if the market tanks, to be quite honest, I want the market to tank because I'll just buy more. Like, I will just buy more real estate. You know, it's the average cost per door. You know, you might have one expensive, but now you're gonna get a ton for super cheap, right? So, you know, If it tanks, I'm buying. If it doesn't, I'm buying. Regardless, I'm buying.
Can't time the market. Where can the audience find you? I'm going to post this. This is long form on YouTube here, so I'm going to put the links down below. So,
Well, pretty much you can find me on the platforms that I am on, typically just on Instagram. The handle is Johnjon Gonzalez, my name, JOHNJON. Yes, that's my government name. That's my real name. It's on my passport, birth certificate. Nobody believes me, but best conversation starter I've ever had.
that's awesome. So I'll put that down below. But thanks again, man. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Thank you.